Good evening. My name is Jennifer O'Callahan, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Women Helping Women Fund. And I'd like to start by thanking each of you for being here tonight. Even with the Zoom fatigue that we are all experiencing, you chose to be here virtually with us, and we thank you for that. We hope to be gathered in person again soon, but until then, we are grateful to come together as a community to help our women and children. And I am so excited to see this group gathered here. I'm looking at the numbers as they're coming in. We've got about 50 now coming into the group. And I see philanthropic influencers, I see community leaders and volunteers, I see prior and current board members, all with a heart for service and a desire to make our community a better place. Without each of you, Women Helping Women Fund wouldn't be the same, and we appreciate you. There are countless stories of our neighbors who've been impacted by your support. We were able to do some pretty amazing things together in 2021. And here are just a couple of the highlights. We awarded $15,000 in Vivian Winston scholarships to women juggling education and motherhood. And we invested more than $300,000 in local nonprofit programs directly benefiting women and children. We also provided $6,000 in Instagrants to nonprofits to meet an immediate need or opportunity. And we launched educational opportunities, including spotlight sessions and nonprofit connects that highlight the great work of nonprofit organizations locally. It is now my pleasure to introduce Heather Hamlin.
Thank you so much, Jen. My name is Heather Hamlin. I am Executive Director of Women Helping Women Fund. And during my first Giving Circle event 3 years ago, I talked about building a large community of strategic givers who are inspired to make a lasting change. And it's been amazing to see what we have been able to build together. 11 short months ago, we launched a collective giving community modeled after 70 other women's funds that are democratizing philanthropy around the country. And we've already welcomed more than 150 members. This is the first of its kind in the Spokane area, and it's unique for a couple of reasons. Let me show you. You become a member with a pledge of $25 or $50 each month to help fund the grant pool. We provide education and volunteer opportunities so you can connect with new nonprofits and learn about issues local women and children are facing. Twice a year, we'll ask you to vote on the grant-making process, first to prioritize the focus funding areas, and then to help select the list of final grantees. Women Helping Women Fund is a no-guilt organization, and we mean it. This means that there are no required meetings, and you can be as involved as you'd like. This year was one for the record books. We awarded over $360,000 in grants and scholarships, which is the most in Women Helping Women Fund's history. Grant funds were distributed to nonprofit programs supporting mental health resources, food security, workforce training and development, childcare, foster youth services, and family resources. We are here to support and empower each other, but we can't do it alone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and a big thank you to STCU for your sponsorship. Here for Good isn't just your motto, it's the guiding star for everything you do, and we're so grateful. As a small token of our appreciation, we would like to do a quick giveaway that includes 3 $50 gift cards to local restaurants, courtesy of STCU. So let's go ahead and pick the winner. All right, Marla Nunberg, if you are on the call, we will go ahead and reach out to you and get this prize to you. And a big thank you to STCU again. This has all been made possible because of this amazing group of givers, and we are so, so, so grateful. Building community and empowering women is at the heart of our organization. And tonight, we're grateful to connect with a dynamic leader that has been involved with many of Spokane's greatest achievements over the past 2 decades.
Okay, I'm so excited I get to do this introduction. So with expertise in navigating change, leading through uncertainty, and reading an evolving environment, Marty Dickinson's success relies on opening her mind to the possibilities the future holds. With more than 27 years of marketing, branding, communications, and organizational management experience, she is passionate about leading others through change and helping teams look forward. As the Chief Marketing Officer at STCU, she is responsible for brand marketing, community relations, government affairs, and facilities. So can I just say, welcome, Marty, and thank you very much for joining us and speaking this evening. And by the way, happy International Credit Union Day.
How about that? Did you plan it that way, Jen?
I totally planned it that way.
Wow. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I wish we were in person, but dare I say, getting pretty good at the Zoom thing.
We are starting to get pretty good about remembering to take ourselves off mute and right. To be able to have a conversation across the screen. So, so I'm going to kick us off with some questions. You have 60 people here that are excited to hear some of your answers. I'm really excited that we get to have this time together and I get to ask you some of these questions. So as you know, Women Helping Women Fund has been bringing people together for 30 years to help empower women and children to reach their fullest potential. And so I guess my first question to you would be, what does empowerment mean to you?
Well, empowerment means a lot of things. Anybody that is a leader right now during this time, in whatever scenario you're in, it's hard, and partly because people have gone crazy. So there's that, right? And so you're trying to empower people from a distance. You're trying to empower people and galvanize people, but everybody's kind of caught, I think, in just a weird space at the moment. And so empowerment becomes more important now more than ever, because I kind of see it as it's this method in which you give people a sense of control. But what I also kind of caution, Jen, around it is that it's a little bit of a leadership buzzword. It's a little bit of a social kind of inclusive type buzzword too, because at the end of the day, in order to be empowered, you as an individual have to actually earn that. And you earn that because you earn it through people's trust. You earn it and gain credibility when you do more than show up, and you actually have to do the work. And when I look back at it's kind of weird to think that I'm this old, and it's moving forward. But when I look back at that and some of the questions you're asking me tonight, I think to myself, it's interesting because the two things most people say to me is, oh, hey, Marty, you're super connected. So can you get me on a board? Or, hey, you're super connected. So can you connect me to so-and-so? And I always kind of take a step back on that, because empowerment obviously is about having some sense of control. It's about earning it. It's earning people's trust. It's doing the work. And then for me personally, where I think what I would consider some of my secret sauce, if you will, is that the relationships that I build in whatever those entities or those problem-solving initiatives I get the honor to be a part of, those relationships they're not a means to an end in the moment. They become very important to me, and I covet them, and I try to take good care of them, because it will come back full circle and you'll be on the next problem-solving opportunity, whatever it is, with some of those same people. And so you have to take good care of relationships. So empowerment's about earning trust, credibility, and then coveting, in my opinion, those that you walked alongside with.
I forgot to take off mute. And who were those those people, those role models in your life that kind of taught you how to seize that power and initiative, and who really inspired you in that?
Well, I mean, I think that there is a lot of different people. I've just been overwhelmed really by people in every kind of phase of my journey. I would say probably my older sister as a young person growing up, and to this day, right? To where I'm calling her yesterday, like, okay, might be one of my hardest days ever as the chair of the board for Washington State University. You can imagine what this last week has been like. Talk about empowerment. But you know that my sister, you know, Dana Anderson, so she has always empowered me because I've been the younger sister. Note I said younger, but she's been an amazing older sister from the time we were young, because she would always encourage me, and she gave me and shared the light. And perhaps I took more than I should at times with her, but she shared the light. So she taught me how that felt, and that it felt good. And then it gave me, I call her my confidence keeper and my confidence charm, because she just kind of gives that. If I move then into college, it would be Linda Underwood. Linda, who is the president of US Bank here in our region. Linda was a graduate student and my boss when I was running a rather large portion of the Greek system at WSU. And she was amazing and empowered me, and would tell me sometimes when I'd be getting ready to talk to 1,000, just take a deep breath. She then encouraged me to take a really big college, something necessarily unique. And she just always had she just knew that I could do these things, and showed me what empowerment meant. And she came alongside me again and shared some of her successes and showed me how to kind of move through that. As I then moved through my career, I really, when I was at the Downtown Spokane Partnership, I had an amazing chair. Her name was Sue Horton. She runs Wheatland Bank. And Sue was really good, because Sue would just be like, you are empowered to make these decisions because we trust you. People come together. People like Lynn, every day, just actually demonstrating how they empower women in particular, and that these two do hard work. Like, they do hard work. They have lifted this community up time and time again. So they led by example. And I mean, you know, you couldn't say this list without Lisa Brown. I got to do the medical school with Lisa Brown. She and I come from very different spectrums on our ways of thinking, but we have spent years together doing some pretty collective things. And we fundamentally believe in empowerment of people of all ages, of people of all diverse thought, and the perspectives that they bring for us. And she has demonstrated to me how being inclusive and doing things differently than you, how that actually rounds things out and makes the whole journey, if you will, of empowerment to then opportunity to change. Lisa's really demonstrated how you do that, how you be respectful and open to a lot of things that maybe are out of your comfort as a leader.
Well, you have some incredible people that you can look to. Like, I mean, that's an incredible experience. And were there, other than these role models that or people that you learned something from as you kind of progressed through your career, was there anything else in your personal journey that you found was really significant as it pertained to empowerment and making a difference in the world?
Well, I know this might sound perhaps simplified, but empowerment in its form is about sharing. And it might be sharing control, it might be sharing a common place of trying to lift up and out of. It might be this place that you share the burden and the heaviness of whatever it is you're trying to work through, the complexities. But it's also sharing the success of that, and then trying to ensure that if you really empowered people, they're going to be ready to go on to the next thing without you. And so in my mind, what I have learned about it and in the projects that I've worked on and the people that I've worked with is, and I think worked with is kind of the key. I try to work with them. I don't try to boss them, try to lead them. Now I'm bossy. So I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. So I'm super competitive and we're always
just a little
gonna
bossy,
get to the
Marty,
finish
just a
line.
little tiny bit.
Just a tiny bossiness, wee bit of control. So empowerment has been a personal journey for me around how to also trust others to marry up to where I want them to be, because I want to be able to accomplish whatever it is that's in front of us. And so I've had to learn to change my cadence at times. I've had to learn to, again, not be afraid. And I'm being really transparent on that, Jen, of it's sometimes easier if you can just get like-minded people in the room and just do what you want to do. And I have learned over the years that it's the worst thing you can do. But if you're going to invite diversity of thought and perspective and experience, then you need to be ready to allow people to travel the journey with you and be empowered. And that requires a great amount of organization. And that you're not trying to take on the world, but you have a clear hill that you are trying to actually take, so that you can galvanize people and people can be committed and invested, and then they can go, okay, I'm committed, I'm invested, I trust her. I'm gonna lean in and I'm gonna take the empowerment ring and I'm gonna run with this.
I think that's great. And you mentioned you have, you've had this experience in working with teams and building teams and leading teams, and you've done some incredible things in the community as well. What exactly does building community mean to you?
It's a good question. Building community, there's so many facets that feed our community. And for me, again, if you're going to be a leader, try to know what you're good at, and where do your strengths lie, and where can you actually make a difference? And so, I mean, you have to be really honest with yourself, right? How do I engage and where do I engage is important, so that I'm of value, because I don't want to take up space or take a seat at the table if I'm not really the best person to be there. And you have to kind of have enough self-awareness to be like, I kind of love that cause, but I don't maybe need to be at the table. I can be on the outside here and, empower them in a different way of, okay, but, when I saw somebody in the chat around building community and then talk more about organization, a couple of building community things that I have been involved with that have are there to problem solve. That's different than if you're there to galvanize for a new change. And that's different if you are organizing for an opportunity. And those things require different people and different skills. So I would say, for example, when I ran the Downtown Spokane Partnership, everybody wanted to fix homelessness in downtown, right? That was many, many years ago. I don't think I have the capability to do that, but I do know that we have a Otis Hotel that is going to be displacing 70 people that perhaps are going to be an additional group of people that are going to be homeless. So can I problem solve for that? And can I build a community of the right people to come together and problem solve to ensure we find a place for every single person in the Otis Hotel? I can't fix it, but I know what I can to make impact with the community. If you are when I've spent the last 2 decades running school bonds and levies out in Central Valley School District and helping others, and that to me is galvanizing for a new change. We want progression and we want some evolution there. And so running those that's a different kind of community building. And figuring out how to be inclusive and hear everybody's voices and what the needs are. And then how do you galvanize everybody to go do the really hard work of passing bonds and levies? And then my last one I would say is my most recent one that I've spent 10 years working on is organizing for an opportunity. That's a very different kind of group of people that came together with a very different kind of skill set. And your level of empowerment is different. So building community, it depends on what it is you're trying to do. Problem solve, galvanize for a new change or existing change, and then also try to organize for potential new opportunities.
That is excellent, Marty. Jennifer Koenig just asked in the chat, Marty, can you tell us about women empowering other women and what we can do better here?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, it's garbled on somebody's in there. So Jennifer, I appreciate the question. That's a lifelong journey for all of us, right? And I've been gifted for sure by the hands of some really amazing. I just came out and said, like, each time, or gosh, why is this young gal thinking that she wants to be the boss of everything? Instead of that, Linda Elkin or Linda Underwood, excuse me, at that time was like, I'm going to grab her. I'm a coach. Help her be successful, you know, or as my sweet beautiful once told me, you know, Marty, just because you think something stupid, you don't have to say that every time. I mean, that's pretty simple advice, right? But instead of just kind of letting you flounder in that space, so I think well, we have to do a better job of taking care of one another and plucking those people out of there and saying, oh my gosh, you are amazing at what you do. I want to find the right place with you. Let me give you kind of some, you know, opportunity to kind of cut your teeth, but I'm going to be a safe space for you to fall back to. And you can trust me when I say, hey, you know, here's an opportunity of maybe how I might have done it differently. And here's what I think you did amazing. And I double down on that. So we have a long ways to go, because I honestly, if anyone has heard me speak before, men are not our problem. They are not our problem. They're simple creatures, super easy to navigate. And they're so transparent, you know exactly how to navigate and move them around. Women are not so much that. And we can be pretty crafty and cagey to one another, and we have to do a better job.
Well, one of the things I've always loved about you, Marty, is you just lift up other women and you give like the kind of positive reinforcing energy that comes out of you to other people is just so incredible. And it's like, this is what it should be. This is how we should be to each other. And so I'm so excited that I got the chance to talk to you a little bit tonight. I have one last question for you before I hand it over to Heather and she talks a little bit more about the organization. But the question I would ask you is, you have left such a mark on Spokane through your professional and volunteer work. Like you said, you know, the medical school, you've been so involved in the school districts, and you've touched so many things that have been so impactful to the community at large. Are there any sort of significant lessons that you've learned through your work where you're building up people in the community and building up the community? Are there any lessons that you would share with others?
I think you have to be sure you know why you are doing what you're doing. And probably more so now than ever before, you need to be really resolute in why you're choosing to work on a social justice cause, why you might be choosing to do something around women and children, why you might be, you just got to know why you're doing that, because things get really bumpy. And it really, At 52 years old, I think, oh, I've got, thick skin. I've figured this out. I've covered my bases. I've learned my lessons. And then you know what? It just comes out of nowhere and you're back in it again going, wow, this is hard. It's really hard. So, and I think we have a bit of a culture right now where we are not as gracious to those that are leaning in, trying to lift up as what we've had in the past. I believe we'll get back to that. But right now, if you're in that space, regardless of what your political preferences, what your stance might be, whatever it is, we just are not showing a lot of grace to people trying to lean in and empower themselves and others. So, be resolute in what you're doing, but I think my advice today would be measured. Be measured in how you approach it and be gentle as you go. I've learned to not be that bull in the china shop that I used to be. It worked. Sometimes it would not work now. And I have to have enough self-awareness to realize that it won't work anymore, that approach, right? And that's what makes you a good leader, is that you know how to kind of ebb and flow and juggle that. But the more that you can kind of simplify the vision of what it is you're trying to do and with who you're trying to do it with, and it creates this ability to be much more inclusive. And I think that that's really, really key, is inclusivity. And so that you can learn more and that you can get more people invested. And last thing is, I say it all the time, but lessons learned is covet the relationships, because there is a finite group of us at the end of the day that do a lot of the heavy lifting at times. And it's like that, right? It's the 80-20 rule. It plays out in the community all day long, every time. And so just covet those relationships, because there's women on this call and people on this call that have been so good to me. And I just try to pay it forward and take good care of that, because I know there's going to be another time I'm going to say, hey, it's time. Can we all do another big lift? And we're empowered to make this change. So let's go do it. And I hope that I have earned their respect, their credibility, and coveted their relationship enough that they're willing to jump on the boat with me.
Absolutely. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us this evening. It has been wonderful to hear from you. Women Helping Women Fund is always working to build up our community, like you've built up the community around you, and focusing on educating, engaging, and providing strategic givers. You've provided such wonderful insight as we continue this effort. So thank you so much, Marty. We really appreciate you talking tonight.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heather, and to everybody on the call. You guys are an amazing organization. So we're glad to be a part of it at STCU as well.
Heather, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. I love how you talk about simplifying the vision. The vision of Women Helping Women Fund is simple. We want to empower women and children. We want to do it with you. We want to walk alongside other women in our community. And we know that we can go further together. So it's very exciting. Without further delay, I am very, very excited to share with you the big news this evening. Our 2022 speaker reveal. Who will we be welcoming to Spokane for the 30th Women Helping Women Fund Spring Fundraiser? For this milestone event, I'm really excited. We pulled out all the stops. We present not one, but two powerful speakers. And what these presenters have in common is a shared passion for the story of one woman who redefined what it means to empower other women. And that is Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ginsburg was a fierce dissenter with a serious collar game, a legendary self-described flaming feminist litigator who made the world more equal, and an intergenerational icon affectionately known as RBG. Okay, let's see here. For our 30th spring fundraiser, we are going to bring to Spokane the co-authors of Notorious RBG book. It's Erin Carmen and Shanna Knisnik, who launched the Supreme Court judge into pop cultural phenomenon. Everybody loves Notorious RBG. It's so great. The story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg life and work has really captured the imagination of the American public for years. And this runaway bestseller, brought to you by an attorney and an award-winning feminist journalist, is more than just a love letter. Aaron and Shanna had intimate access to Ginsburg family members, close friends, colleagues, clerks, and as well as interviews with the justice herself. Here's a photo of RBG officiating both of their weddings. I think that that is just such a great photo here. Together, they share a never before told story of an unusual and transformative woman who really transcended divides and changed the world forever. So please save the date for May 17th, 2022. We are planning both a virtual and in-person event based on the COVID climate that we're in right now. And then a quick note, members who become members of the collective giving community and pledge $50 a month do receive a ticket for the annual luncheon, just like we have done with Giving Circles for years and years. All right, Jen. What do you think?
Thank you, Heather. I'm so excited about the news. I'm so excited about these speakers. I think it's going to be such a great luncheon next spring. So I am going to close you out. If you'll bear with me, we're running a little bit long, but I've seen that you have hung in with us. So I just want to say that we are a community of grant makers, of change makers, of go-getters. We educate and we advocate, and we help our community come together to help support women and children. And over the next year, we plan to accomplish even more than we accomplished last year. So we are releasing an updated State of Women and Children report to help inform policy and identify the most pressing issues. We'll be doing a deep dive into maternal health and birth through 5 years. We are increasing our Instagrants to help local nonprofits meet immediate needs outside of the regular grant cycle. And we'll continue to strengthen community partnerships, especially around the topic of early learning and childcare. The work of Women Helping Women Fund is not possible without you. Our community of women and children right here in Spokane have been directly impacted by your generosity and support. In your inbox, you will find an email from us with more information about how you can increase your impact. For members, that might include joining one of our committees. For donors and supporters, that might include becoming a member or making a one-time donation. Becoming a member requires a pledge of $25 to $50 per month. In return, you become a strategic giver, contributing to a larger number of nonprofits through grant making, education, and opportunities for community service. As a matter of fact, our next volunteer opportunity is with Second Harvest in mid-November, and details are in that email that we just sent you. So as a special thank you to every new member that joins during the month of October, we will donate 2 coats to support Coats for Kids and send you a small token of our appreciation. I ask you to consider getting involved at a level you believe represents the greatest impact you can make. Thank you for your past, present, and future support of Women Helping Women Fund, and for helping the women and children of Spokane to achieve their best and fullest potential.